The Trump administration is unveiling a new rule that could potentially cut legal immigration in half. Syria is the focus of this trilateral meeting, and you're there. What's the situation like on the ground? Protesters in Hong Kong took to the hills to form flashlight-carrying human chains on Friday. What pilgrims who are taking part, what some of the feelings they may be having today? The storm hit the islands as a Category 5, the highest on the international scale. Do you believe Iran is sincere in that it says it is willing to take steps to work with its regional neighbors to achieve peace? Well, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has criticized a number of foreign countries for being slow to act when it comes to the safe zone in northern Syria. During a wide-ranging interview with the Reuters news agency, the Turkish president reiterated previous statements that Turkey is ready to act alone in Syria if it doesn't get outside support. In that interview, Erdogan also said he is considering buying U.S. Patriot missiles and will discuss the issue with President Donald Trump this month. Ali Jinar is the president of an organization focusing on U.S.-Turkey relations and says the two leaders meeting could be a breakthrough. The Bahamas is preparing for another storm only 2 weeks after being hit by the most powerful hurricane in its history. A low-pressure system near to the islands has strengthened to form a tropical storm named Humberto. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres visited the Bahamas on Friday to show solidarity with its people after the devastation of Hurricane Dorian. Protesters in Hong Kong took to the hills to form flashlight-carrying human chains on Friday. They also marked the start of the Mid-Autumn Festival, one of the most important dates in the Chinese calendar. Let's get more on this from Caroline Malone. She joins us from Hong Kong Airport, where more protests are planned. Caroline, so you're at the airport there. We have seen some unrest there over the last few weekends. How is it looking today? So, Caroline, it is the Mid-Autumn Festival, and Chinese traditionally travel home, spend time with families. Has there been a let-up over the holiday? In the United States, students in Washington, D.C. gathered outside the White House to call for more action to be taken against the climate crisis. Swedish teen activist Greta Thunberg joined the group as they spoke out on climate change. Let's take a look at other news making headlines around the world. Details of a huge explosion at a Saudi Aramco oil processing facility are emerging. Welcome back to TRT World. A reminder of our top stories. Tropical storm Humberto heads toward the Bahamas less than 2 weeks after Hurricane Dorian devastated parts of the country. At least 5 people have been killed and several others injured in regime shelling in Syria's Idlib province. The shelling took place in Marat al-Numan city. More than 6.6 million people in Syria have been internally displaced since the war started in 2011. That's according to the United Nations. In the last 4 months since the regime offensive began, hundreds of thousands have been displaced within northwestern Syria, many for a second or third time. And as Obeda Hito reports, it's left them struggling to find medical care. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will fly to Luxembourg next week with his team of negotiators to meet EU officials. Over 1.2 million British citizens live in the EU, 150,000 of them in France. What happens to them and their access to local services after Brexit? It's a question that many are asking with increasing urgency as the Brexit deadline of October 31st approaches. In one village in western France, a quarter of the locals were born in the UK. As Simon McGregor Wood reports, many are worried about their future. A U.S. mayor says Customs and Border officials in New York's JFK airport asked him if he met any terrorists when he returned to the U.S. after visiting Turkey with his family. Mohammed Khairullah says he was detained and questioned for hours by officers. Zimbabwe is set to hold a state funeral for its founder and longtime ruler, Robert Mugabe, at a national sports stadium in Harare. Foreign dignitaries from the continent and close allies are expected to attend. The 95-year-old died last week in Singapore. Columbus Mavunga reports from Harare. Actress Felicity Huffman has been sentenced to 14 days in jail for her role in a college admissions cheating scandal. She pleaded guilty for paying to rig her daughter's entrance exam. And finally, photos from this year's Wildlife Photographers of the Year have been selected. They include tranquil moments of animals in their natural habitats, some fleeing predators, and some in cozy but unfamiliar places. We'll leave you with that and stay with us. Headlines are next.